Trying a little something new. How's everybody doing? Come on now. All right. This is Life of Milk podcast, and this is brought to you by Engage Pro for Video, which created the graphics that you see right here. So we're gonna go through some interesting topics today. The SEC just confirmed that Bitcoin is not a security. Are we happy? All right. So let's check this out. Here we go. So there's been huge, in fact, I think Coinbase, like the SEC, just before they started with this case with Ripple and just before they went to war in the courts, SEC went to Coinbase and says, "Oh, can you stop trading everything but Bitcoin?" You know? And they were like, "Excuse me?" That's right, I think that's what they said. So there's this huge sort of discussion, like what's a security and what's a commodity. So we're going to go right here, and instead of me reading this entire article, let's use a little AI generator. Give me some read. It sounds like Mick Jagger or something. So, in simple terms, the article discusses the term crypto and how it applies to different digital assets. The author talks about Bitcoin and how some people called Bitcoin maximalists believe it is the only true cryptocurrency with real value. Michael Saylor is a Bitcoin maximalist. Max Kaiser is a Bitcoin maximalist. They believe that Bitcoin is the future and that all the other cryptocurrencies just don't hold up. All right, so the Securities and Exchange Commission. I have to slow down, I'm having trouble talking here. All right. The Securities and Exchange Commission is concerned about fraud in crypto market and treats some cryptocurrencies as securities subject to certain regulations. So there is this big talk, and this is fantastic because this would not have happened without crypto emerging. You know, Bitcoin started in 2011. And it's grown to be this world force. It's the biggest cryptocurrency. It outpaces all of the rest put together. So we would not be having this discussion. What is the difference between a commodity and a security? So what do you say we ask our beloved AI? All right, so here I've got Chat GPT, and so we're going to ask it. Let's see, yeah, we'll get the full of the screen here. So we'll say, what is the difference between a commodity and a security? Question. Okay, so I like to use Chat GPT, and I like to use Hugging Face. This is Open Assistant by an open source model called Hugging Face, which is free. It's open source, and it is using this Llama SFT6 Llama model. So I'm not quite sure what that is, but it's different than the other models that are very popular. I also like using Perplexity. All right, so this is free. It's awesome. And what's great about Perplexity, every 4 hours you have this co-pilot function, which means you can jump onto the internet and you ask it, give me, in building the site I was looking for overlays. And so it says, give me 10 sites that sell overlays. And it just went BAM! Like that. Which deserves some applause. So, what's the difference between a commodity and a security, man? Alright, so we're going to hit go. Let's see what all three of them say. When is it love? When determining whether, okay, this is Open Assistant. Oh, they don't have to write all that. It's a simple distinction. When determining, let's see if I can get a close-up here. I don't know if that's any better for you. When determining, is that any better? When determining whether an asset falls under the category of a commodity versus a security, there are several differences worth considering. First and foremost, okay, I'm sorry, I got to interject in here. The difference, see, I'm not worried about AI. I'm not worried about AI taking over the world. Okay, the difference between a security and a commodity is security has an issuer. All right, has a corporation issue or a board of directors behind it, and a commodity doesn't. You cannot impound the assets. You can't go into the offices of gold and arrest anybody. You can't throw coal in jail, but you can take the dude from FTX, go to his island in the Bahamas, and arrest them. So that's the difference between. So this is why AI is never going to be a problem, because AI is stupid as far as I'm concerned. They're only good for certain things. I can't believe this. Okay, commodities also tend to maintain. First and foremost, commodities represent physical goods which have intrinsic value due to the utility or consumption potential. Come on, man. Commodities also tend to maintain relatively stable prices over time. No, you don't. That's you don't go to court with that definition. On the other hand, securities are financial instruments representing partial ownership in a company or entity, while some securities may. That's just such a long way to go to say a security has an issuer. Jesus Christ. This is perplexity. The difference between a commodity and a security can be summarized as follows. Commodities are assets, property, or goods that can be bought or sold on an exchange. Examples of commodities are raw materials. Commodities are like natural gas, which don't have an issuer. Jesus. They do not generate a return for a common enterprise. My God. You have to go through all of that to say that. Commodities value depends upon the supply and demand of the market. Securities are financial instruments that have value, can be traded. Well, come on. Securities include stocks, bonds, exchanges, ETFs. And security returns a common Okay, here we go. Security yields returns from a common enterprise or company. An issuer. Jesus. They represent ownership or debt in a company or government entity. All right, okay, so not impressed with Perplexity or Hugging Face Open Assistant. So let's see what ChatGPT says. Commodities and securities are two distinct financial instruments, two distinct financial terms that represent different types of assets. A commodity refers to a basic raw primary good used in commerce. A security, on the other hand, refers to a financial instrument that represents ownership of a financial interest in a company, entity, or investment product. Yes, because the security has an issuer. All right, so let's go back to. Where are we? Forbes. The Securities and Exchange Commission is concerned about fraud in the crypto market. I don't think so. They're concerned about control and the complete upset of the financial universe. Okay, in the crypto market, the Commission is concerned about fraud in the crypto market and treats some cryptocurrencies as securities. It's treating all cryptocurrencies except Bitcoin as securities, subject to certain regulations. However, the article points out the SEC considers Bitcoin as a special case and doesn't see it as a security because its issuer. Do you know the origin story of Bitcoin? This guy Satoshi Nakamoto, he just creates Bitcoin and out of it, keeps himself secret, and some people think it's the CIA. It's just this really bizarre origin story. Nobody knows who this dude is. So the debate about what qualifies cryptocurrency how should continues, right? So there's a big Ripple case that just happened. There's another thing I wanted to just share real quick. The SEC strategy hinges on a claim that most cryptos can be classified as securities or financial instruments that give the holder a tradable stake in a profit-making enterprise. Right? Coal and gold is not a profit-making enterprise. It's a commodity spread over a huge market. As such, an entity facilitating the trade needs to jump through certain hoops in order to stay on the right side of the U.S. securities law. If they fail to do so, they face lawsuits, fine, and possible. But here's where it gets interesting for the maximalists. This is what I wanted to share. Let's see if I can get a close-up going here. Okay. Oops, that got to the wrong thing. That might be a little bit better to read. Got lost. But here's where it gets interesting for the maximalists. In order to prove where are we? Oh, I shouldn't have worried about the getting it too perfect in terms of. But here's where it gets interesting. Wow, that took long. But here's where it gets interesting for maximalists. In order to prove whether or not crypto is a security, the SEC relied on a precedent set the U.S. Supreme Court in 1946. The so-called Howey test. How we going, man? This test holds that an investment contract amounts to a security if we go. Now we're getting into a legal definition of what a security is. If there's an investment of money, number one. Number two, the investment is made in a common enterprise, right? It benefits an issuer. And there's an expectation of profits that will be derived from the efforts of others. In the SEC's recent case against Ripple Labs, this is a very important case, a U.S. District Court found that the XRP token does not constitute a security when sold to the general public via exchanges. An appeal is expected, but judges have sided with the regulators in other smaller cases. The issue often boils down to whether or not the promotion and development of a crypto by its founders constitutes the efforts of others. All right? So there's no founders in gold. There's no founders in coal. There's no founders in pork bellies. Okay? You get what I'm saying? If the token is relatively centralized or small in market cap, and if the team behind the token has made claims about their ability to drive up its price, then the Howey test is likely to be passed. Crucially, none of that applies to Bitcoin, the world's most decentralized crypto, with a market cap equal to nearly all other cryptos combined, whose founder neither pre-mined any coins nor has any ongoing involvement in the project, and the SEC knows it. That's that Satoshi Nakamoto guy. I think that's how you say it. I know Satoshi. I don't know if I'm getting Nakamoto right. Anyways, so this Gary Gensler guy, I don't know. Something about that dude I don't like. Anyways, so that's basically what's going on in the world of crypto. Let's go through some other crazy news. Okay, so here is this 100-year-old truck company is going bankrupt. They told their pensioners, Yellow Trucking Company, they told their employees, okay, you're not going to get your pension checks like we promised, and then that set off sort of a firestorm within the company. So let's get a summary of this article real quick. And so can you imagine you're at this 100-year-old company and then all of a sudden they tell you, sorry, retirees, Yellow Corp, a major trucking company in the United States, has stopped its operations and filed for bankruptcy. This puts around 30,000 jobs at risk for employees working at the nearly century-old freight delivery company. Can you imagine? You got a 100-year-old company, and then you've been through the ups, you've been through the downs, 100 years, man. And then all of a sudden one day it all comes and you gotta, oh my God, we gotta go bankrupt. The Teamsters Union, which represents about 22,000 unionized workers at Yellow, received legal notice about the bankruptcy. The closure came after Yellow laid off hundreds of non-union employees and had a long-standing dispute with the union. The company had a debt about $1.5 billion and was losing customers, which made bankruptcy likely. Yellow had also received bailout funding from the government but couldn't manage its finances properly. Many workers expressed frustration as they had made wage and benefit concessions to help the company, but it still ended up bankrupt. What a tragic story. So, that's what happens. That's what happens sometimes. You have this established 100-year-old company that's been rocking and rolling for like a century, and then just one thing happens after another. You make it through COVID and you have to call it quits. All right, next story. Ukraine. Kyiv warns Russia as Moscow's skyscraper hit in a second drone attack. So let's see what Russia says here. Okay, tensions are escalating between Russia and Ukraine, with recent drone attacks heightening the conflict. A skyscraper in Moscow was targeted by a drone for a second time in 2 days, and Russia's defense ministry blamed Ukraine for an attack. In response, Kyiv warned Russia that the conflict could soon move to Russian territory. The incident caused damage to the skyscraper, but no injuries. All right. So the Russian foreign minister was speaking at this function. I remember it. I think she was speaking to an African delegation. All right. And so she's talking about the war in Ukraine. And so she says this. She goes, all right. So when you have a foreign country that attacks a skyscraper, right, with an aerial aircraft, that's not war. That's terrorism. And she goes, I would like to tell my people in the United States, do you remember 9/11? Do you remember 9/11? And I thought about that. And she goes, is this just a matter of scale? Okay, well, let's define the scale. How big does a plane have to be before it's considered a terrorist attack? And I was like, wow, man. I was like, whoa. I saw what she was saying, and she has a point. Is a skyscraper a legitimate military target? And then if you're Ukrainian and you're fighting in your homeland, you might think, well, I'm defending my home and the homes of my countrymen. So sure, a skyscraper is a valid military target. But I can see what Russia is trying to say. However, the truth of the matter is, if you listen to people like Scott Ritter and Colonel McGregor, this war is over. Whatever we have here is just nothing more than a desperate sort of sideshow. Russia has the capability to launch these swarms of drones. So you launch like 20,000 drones up into the air, and they're all up in the air, and they're all talking to each other. So they're way up above the ability for anti-aircraft missiles to shoot at them. So they're assessing the situation, and they're talking to each other, and then once they get the targets identified, they come down, boom, 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 and whatever's down there is just completely destroyed within pinpoint accuracy. Ukraine does not have that ability to talk to the satellites. They don't have a navy. They don't have an air force. Russia could right now completely annihilate what's left of the country of Ukraine. And when I'm talking annihilate, I mean like in a bulldozer, artillery, 60,000 missiles a day type of movement from the south all the way to capture the capital. They could just start that up at any point. That the season of the mud, where there's mud everywhere, that's over with. They have this window of opportunity until winter hits again, where they could make this move to capture the rest of Ukraine. So Ukraine just does not have the manpower. They don't have the expertise. The military that was there, all the officers that were knowledgeable about war, are either dead or injured. So it's just a sideshow. It's not a war anymore. It's just this. It's a zombie apocalypse. It's a zombie apocalypse, and this is what I think, that the war, like we've known it for the centuries. This has been happening since the Holy Roman Empire. You've had countries creating war, not to really conquer a nation, but just to stir things up, And this type of war is over. So we're witnessing the end of war. We have the ability now to create such a reign of terror in terms of artillery and in terms of accuracy that everybody has this capability. Russia is at the top of the heap in this because they're actively involved in a war. But America has its technology, China has its technology, and Russia has its technology. This is just complete and total domination of the battlefield using ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance strategies. So this war that we're watching, I think it's going to be the last for a long time, because there's just so much. We can give a claps to that, because there's just so much money. That money used to go into a war, and then the investors would reap the spoils of war back. But that's not going to happen. All this money, all this weaponry, all of this blood and treasure is just going down this black hole, this zombie apocalypse nightmare for no reason, So there is a silver lining. Okay, next. Behold the rise of the AI girl. Oh man, come on. I don't think, even if, okay, I see what's happening as I'm doing that. It's going there. Okay, but that's all right. I'll fix that. Thousands of, see, so this is an AI girl that, are we getting this stupid? Behold the rise of the AIE girl. Thousands of non-suspecting people are falling for fake artificial intelligence generated girls posting provocative photos online, and many virtual influencers amassed hundreds of thousands of followers. We can't tell that that's fake. I mean, come on. We can't tell that that's fake. The profile does not hide the fact that she's an AI creation, but she appears so lifelike that most following her across various social media platforms are yet to realize she doesn't exist. No, I'm sorry. We just have it too good. We just have it too good. When's the last time anybody killed a chicken for a hot wing dinner? Come on. We're just too, it's just, you know, we get to a certain level of luxury and then we go soft. It'll change soon. Soon as be like, okay, honey, you know, you look terribly hot. Are you, okay, I understand what's going on now. You look terribly hot. Can you cut the head off a chicken and cook something for us tonight? Okay, so I might have to change that hotkey business. Alright, that's cool. Alrighty. Oh, here we go. A boy with a crushed skull, an officer in custody, and a French police revolt. Police across France are performing minimum duties in protest after the detention of a Marseille officer of a 22-year-old. I hate to break the news, but the police in France have always performed minimum duties. I don't, you know, oops. I don't remember any officer here in France producing any stellar police duties. Okay, so where were we? Alright. So here's this dude. Alright, so this guy was walking home from school. So in Marseille is the sort of like the highest concentration of North Africans in all of Europe. It's very heavily Arab, very heavily North African. So the catalyst of the protest was to judge the decision of the Marseille officer rather than release him under supervision for beating a man in France. The officer was a member of an anti-crime brigade. The victim, known as Hedi, says he was not part of the protest. He had just left work when he had a friend encountered a group of police officers. So they beat the crap out of this kid, and he was so badly damaged that they had to remove a part of his skull, and he had a lost vision in his one eye. And he was in a coma. Doctors had to remove a large part of his skull, leaving his head disfigured. Poor dude. And so the beating was captured on CCTV cameras, but the police officers across France have seized on the judicial treatment of their own. We are working to. Why are we working to rule? Because the police officer who leaves the house in the morning may also find himself indicted in the afternoon and then placed in detention. Officer Olivier, who spoke on the condition of anonymity. For the police, there is never a presumption of innocence. You are guilty right away. Okay, well, you know, welcome to the Western world there, French police. This is what you have in your liberal democracy where everybody is oppressed. Where are you? Where are you? You're not in Poland. You're not in Russia. You're not in China. You're in France. This huge bit liberal democracy that has to protect the people from the oppression of whatever. Men oppressing women, heterosexuals oppressing the LGBT community. It's a big oppression crybaby nightmare fest. All right. And so now the police are whining also. Well, welcome to the Western world, my friends. Okay. Alright, so I would have to go like that. So, look at this, man. What happened? You know, I remember back in the day when, like, transvestites or transsexuals, sometimes they were so hot, like you couldn't tell the difference between, you know, it seems like for whatever reason, like Filipino dudes or Latin, you know, there's this thing where they would just look so much like a woman that you'd be like just completely blown away that they're an actual dude. I mean, what exactly is happening here? All right, can anybody tell me? What's with the beards? I don't get it. I just don't understand at all. Anyways, Obama judge suspends law protecting kids from drag shows. A judge in Montana has temporarily blocked a new law that protects children from drag queen performances, ruling that could disproportionately harm the LGBT and pride community. U.S. District Court Judge Brian Morris, appointed by President Obama in 2013, suspended the law. He argued that the 15,000 expected attendees of Montana Pride cannot avoid chilled speech or exposure to potential civil or criminal liability. You know, I would never in 1,000 million years bring my child to one of these drag shows. Just, it would never happen. And I would be completely PO'd if my kid was in the school and they had drag time story hour. There's no, you can have drag time story hour if you have homemaker wife at home story hour, and you have carpenter story hour, and you have bricklayer story hour, and you have, you know, whatever other story hour that there is. But to just have drag time queen story hour with not other acknowledging any other type of group, no, I'm sorry. That whatever that is, it's not going to be happening with my kids. But also, I remember that the ACLU defended the Nazis from where I was in Chicago. They wanted to have a rally in Skokie, and so Skokie was a highly high concentration of Jewish people in Skokie, a suburb of Chicago, and so the Nazis fought and won to protest and to have a rally in Skokie, Illinois. There are all these dudes going like that, you know, with the swastika on the arm, talking about all their Nazi stuff, and a bunch of people booing at them and saying, nah, nah, nah. So, you know, I do believe that that was the correct decision by the Supreme Court or whatever court, you know, that and the ACLU was like defending the Nazis. And so you have a choice to go there to the rally or not. The problem here is the kids. And, you know, it's really a problem, I think, for the parents. Like, what kind of parent would want to expose their kid to some brain, you know, you as a kid, you should not, sex should not be a part of the things that you need to be concerning yourself about. All right, your brain is developing. It's trying to understand much more complex things, like the relationship between family members and what this means and what that means, and truth and lies, and your this thing called life, this thing called consciousness. And so to throw some confusing ridiculousness at a young child, I just think is just the most irresponsible thing that a parent can do. You leave sex out of it. You leave sex out of a kid's consciousness. Just like you see a lot of times, in the Jewish culture or the Christian culture, you got kids wearing the Jewish thing or the kids with the big Christian cross or whatever. You're imposing, like religion and sex. That you gotta, let the kid be a kid. Let the kid be a kid. And then as they grow up, then there should be a rite of passage like the bar mitzvah or the in the Mexican tradition, the conciliar, I forget how you pronounce it. But there's that time when you start 13, 14, 15 where you have this sort of thing. And then that's when you bring in religion. That's when you bring in the talk, discussion about sex. But before that, it's just absolutely absurd. You should just let a kid be a kid. All right. And so, on the last one, okay, this is hilarious. This is the woman who couldn't define what a woman was. What's a woman? I don't know. I'm a judge. I'm not a biologist, man. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Anyways, so I won't bore you with the entire article. Let's just see what Justice Kyiv Brown. That's a cool name. Kyiv Brown. My name Kyiv Brown. Kyiv Brown Jackson is facing accusations of including 2 false claims in her dissenting opinion on the court's recent decision barring racial discrimination in college admissions. The claims were derived from an amicus brief submitted by the Association of American Medical Colleges. In her first error, Jackson claimed that the affirmative action saves lives by allowing black doctors to provide better care for black patients than white doctors. That's pretty hilarious. However, experts dispute this claim, and the AAMC later asked the court to correct it. Despite the correction, media outlets still citing the original false claim, and the second false claim in Jackson's dissent states that the research shows black physicians are more likely to accurately assess black patients' pain tolerance and treat them accordingly, include prescribing appropriate amounts of pain medication. Okay, I don't think we have to go any farther. So, well, I think that she sort of balances the court, right? There was all of this craziness that Trump was stacking the court with a Republican justices like Gorsuch, and who was the last one? I forget her name. The female, I forget. Anyways, so she balances the tables there. She's got a little bit of that word salad happening with Kamala Harris. So, anyway, so that's the news of the day. Leading off with crypto. And so let me know what you think. Is Ethereum, is Cardano? There's a big argument that Cardano is not a security. It has a peer-reviewed studies. So it's almost in the realm of like medicine or science. So it's pushing Cardano was definitely pushing the boundaries. So anyways, let me know what you think about the articles we talked about crypto, Ukraine, this American businesses, 100-year-old American businesses going under. And that's it for this broadcast. With my new setup, I have to change the hotkeys because when I press a hotkey, it changes the it changes the browser, so I have to add a little modification. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching. My name is Liam Galegas, and I'm an American in Paris, born in Chicago, and so I'm going to be doing these podcasts. And if you want to 10x your content creation strategy, all right? You can have a podcast just like me, professional, total professional podcast that you're doing zero editing. All right, so I'm just going live. I'm getting to know the system. I just created this last night. So it's going to take me a little bit to get my groove, but it's still content. I'm still talking about what I want to talk about, and I'm recording right now to YouTube, to LinkedIn, and to, I forgot to supercharge the connection. There's this move I do to get this Wi-Fi going. Anyways, and to Twitter. So I'm interested to see what the quality of this connection is. All right. Turn up the music a little bit. And thanks for stopping by. And we'll see you next time. All right. Okay. Look at my screen already, because I'll fade out. All right. Take care. Au revoir.